watching the Polecast.
Need to know more and more about weather that surrounds this planet is a vital part of the expanded research program of atomic weapons. We all talk about the weather. The Army is doing something about the weather.
We physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War.
But there weren't any real clouds around. This was the end of the monsoon season, but there were a number of these small clouds that barely reached the freezing level, and by putting a small amount of silver iodide in there, we got them to collect and start to build. My main contribution at Corona was to write a plan for weather modification control for the whole world at any given time. We could send a number of airplanes with the materials and dispensing equipment we had, and probably control the weather all the way around the world. We were the first ones to fly into hurricanes for the purpose of modifying them, if you will. That was Project Storm Fury. I began to be extremely confident that we could do about what we wanted to with a hurricane. The Project Storm Fury had been going on since 1961, and they had already done two experiments, one in 61 and 63. Well, by 1964, when I was there in 1964, I wrote the plan and started to have a track and a mission for every flight that was on the hurricane cloud seeding experiments. So we had documentation for everything.
The climate engineering transmissions are 10 times more powerful than the frequency transmissions for communications. So all of this is a part of the problem, and manipulating wind flows as well. And that's key. We see it happening right now with the severe weather outbreaks happening in the US as manipulated flows of moisture are being migrated in from the western US, chemically nucleated, creates a cold, dense layer of air on the surface. As they push that eastward and it collides with manipulated moisture from the record warm Gulf, and those two air masses collide, you get severe weather, which creates unstable atmospheric conditions, which creates cyclonic rotations. The cyclonic rotations that are being spawned right now are from conditions that are directly connected to climate engineering. That doesn't mean a specific cyclone in a specific location, but it means the overall region that has been set up for a spawning ground for tornadoes, and that's inarguable.
Good afternoon, North America, and welcome to the Polecast. It is Sunday. What is it, April 13th today already? It's like just time is flying by. And we want to welcome you in. We got a continuation of the last episode, I guess you can kind of say, because it had some issues and wasn't really able to put everything out there that I wanted to for the topic, which the majority of it was about chemtrails. But before we dive into that, the first thing I want to do is you can see that I'm not solo today. I have riding shotgun and always doing a phenomenal job, the Colonel. So, Colonel, you want to say hi to everybody real quick?
Yep. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Thanks for coming out, friend.
Pleasure.
We are very simpatico, so it's nice when the Colonel's here. And this is nothing against Mr. White or Mr. Black. I love both those guys, and they always contribute. They're a little bit younger. They do. And right now, because of their situation, employment-wise, they are in an undisclosed location. And it's better that we don't reveal any of that to ensure their safety is always paramount. So,
and their families.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like my wife's sister put our wedding pictures up on Facebook with me and my brother. It was in the Ranger bat in his uniform, and a couple other guys. And I'm like, I don't care if they understand, but you got to tell her to take them down.
Yeah, I would never like when I went through a secret squirrel school a while back. It's almost 10 years already. Actually, it is 10 years already. For surveillance, they they had everybody sitting in the class, this huge classroom, and they started just putting people's information up on this massive screen. And these guys they're doing their cool guy pics and everything, and telling people who they are and what kind of operator they were, and just totally made them look like, in that setting, made them look kind of stupid, because, you just shouldn't. In our previous line of work, you got to be really careful with what you put out in the ether, so to speak. Speaking of which, before we get into any of this, we get hot and heavy into some of the things I wanted to talk about with chemtrails and the Trump administration, and are they looking into this? Is it all just smoke and mirrors? There was something that happened this week that you should not put on the internet machine, and I'm gonna play a quick video real quick of Secretary Kristi Noem, who
we normally love.
Yeah, I mean,
South Dakota.
Yeah, I love South Dakota. She's friend
with Sean Boone and his wife, dude.
Yeah, I love South Dakota. I thought it was beautiful. We lived there. We have a live studio audience today. My mom's here, and what part of South Dakota do we live in, man? Rapid City, South Dakota. The only thing I remember from that is we lived in a trailer, and there was I don't know if they were wild horses or what, but I can remember these horses. They were penned in, and I can remember going to oh, look at this horse. Yeah, and then one of them tried to bite me. Literally, took his chompers out and tried to bite my hand, and I'll never forget that, and I just ran back. Remember the deer? I don't remember any deer. It was like an albino deer. Really?
We have one of those on our property, Granny.
Oh, that's right, you do.
Dude.
Boy, you kill one of those, you're going to prison.
I've seen it probably a half a dozen times working security, coming home late, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and she'd be out there, pure white.
Really?
Absolutely beautiful, yeah.
That's
I texted a neighbor, and I was like, I said, Terrence, he's an old veteran guy.
Yeah.
About our age. Big, gigantic black dude. Super cool.
Oh, I think I met him before.
We were both pulling guns on each other in our trucks when we met each other. Not nonchalantly. He was around. He's like, Nick, you know what I was doing? I said, you were grabbing your pistol out of the door. And he's like, yeah.
Hey, you never can be too sure.
But great guy.
Yeah, I think I did meet him. I know I met the other guy who in the wheelchair lives right down there. Is he Gator? Is that Gator?
No, Gator lives on the left.
He lives on the left. Okay.
Yeah, you know where Gator lives.
I hear going past their house. I'm like, I hear Sanford and Son playing in my ear.
About 12 to 15 days ago, Julie calls me on the way over. She goes, Nick, just so you know, she goes, Tilly and the baby cow were at Gator's house eating his yard.
Oh no!
And they called the cops.
Really?
Yeah.
When was this?
Probably 10 to 14 days ago.
Really? Oh, man.
12 to 15, maybe.
Yeah. Where did she get out?
The fence got blown over in a storm.
Oh.
And the baby cow walked out, and that horse that thinks it's the baby cow's mother followed it.
Yeah. Yeah, animals are a precious thing, to say the least.
Yeah, she went to Gator's house to eat the yard. Julie's like, we came around the corner, and the Gator was out, and the cop was out, and they pulled me over and said, is this your horse?
They pulled her over?
Yeah, they were at Gator's house with the horse and the cow in the yard as Julie and the kids came around the corner together.
I'm sure Julie's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Anyhow.
I know they love your guys' animals.
Yeah.
I'd probably like to eat them, but...
That's what he said. He's like, my girls liked watching them eat the grass. I go,
Well, speaking of grass, I don't know if you can see, folks, we have a firearm here. This is an AR-15. Now, there's no bolt carrier group in this weapon, so it's completely inert. There's nothing, no way of shooting or anything like that. And I brought up Kristi Noem because, there's things that we were taught in the military. You keep a barrel down at the grass, either at the low ready or at the high ready. And for somebody in a position that she is in and having cool guys around here, these federal agents, that should know better.
Yeah.
You should never have a situation like
Secretary
this.
of Homeland Security.
Well, actually, first, this is
If you
Real
plan on
ID. This is her
traveling,
introducing
we need your
Real
help
ID
to prevent
first.
delays and to prove your identity. Get a Real ID.
But
Starting May 7th, you will need a Real ID
what
to
I
travel
wanted
by
to show
air or to visit federal buildings.
was this. Now, I don't know why nobody corrected her on how she was holding that long gun, but she's got that barrel pointed right at that guy's head. And
Right at the right temple.
yeah, I'm not going anywhere on any operation or anything like that with an individual like that, because I mean, why we brought the weapon is we want to show you the proper way for holding a high ready and a low ready. And Colonel, if you could walk through it and make sure I'm not doing anything wrong as well. I'll do the low ready. So you either hold the firearm. It is clear, there's nothing in it. But you either have that here,
Boom!
right here,
Yeah. At a minimum.
down at the dirt, never flag anybody, or you have it up here.
Mike, I can't flag my animals, dude.
Yeah, I can't.
When I take my M4 out my yard.
I would never hold a weapon like this pointed at somebody's head. So I just felt like, God, that looked really bad.
It was really bad.
Like, I'm sure those two guys, those two federal agents, are probably getting clowned on pretty heavy, because I know if I seen these two cats in the office the next day, I'd be like,
dude, you got the turd burglar award.
Like, you don't think maybe you should say something to her?
Awareness, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's bad, dude.
That's really bad. Yeah. So
my 13-year-old son, wouldn't do that.
Yeah, he wouldn't do that.
No.
So all you kids at home and all you hunters, make sure when you're smoking and joking after you just shot a defenseless deer that you're not flagging your hunting buddies or your battle buddies like this, because this is that's just terrible, absolutely terrible. So
and holding the rifle like a dirty diaper.
Yes. So with that being said, I wanted to shift gears a little bit into what we're here for, and it was, like I said, it's a continuation of our conversation last week with Mr. White and Mr. Black, where we were discussing chemtrails a little bit, and the things that I didn't get to do last week because of my budget and the equipment I have isn't always user friendly. So I had some pictures that I took of what was, in my opinion, a chemtrail. And the interesting thing about the chemtrail is when it started to unravel, I mentioned this last week, it kind of looked like a double helix. And I'll actually bring that slide up real quick so you can see what it is I'm talking about. So these two chemtrails, or contrails if you don't believe in chemtrails, were what I seen 2 weeks ago. And I took these pictures. And as you can see, just by looking at it, it looks like a double helix, DNA.
It does.
And it kind of freaked me out, because shortly after that, I noticed something else in the sky. And what it was, there were two planes. Well, first there was a plane that dispersed this, they might say it's condensation, or I don't know what it is, because it stayed in the sky for hours, and then it didn't really dissipate. It just kind of spread out, creating like a blanket over where we were. So then, after it started unraveling, I seen this. Now, it's kind of hard to see.
Nope, I see them.
You see the two, there's two aircraft.
On the right-hand side.
Yeah, and they're at a very, very high altitude. It's very hard to see them. But what they did is, it was like there's a highway up there. And most of us that have flown in commercial airliners, you're up over 30,000 feet. I like sitting at the window because I like looking outside to see what's going on.
Yep. I can nap against it. With a sweatshirt folded up.
Or I can shut the blind and not look at anything. But I like looking at the clouds. I like staring out the window.
So do I. The first time I ever skydived was like 13,000 feet out of a cloud.
Was it really?
It was literally.
Did you do that tandem where you had to ride some other dude down?
I talked him into. I said, "Hey, we're deploying to Iraq in 3 weeks," and I said, "Me and
good for you, man. Don't go that."
I said,
that
"Like me and four
thing.
of my buddies want a free fall," and she goes, "Nick, we don't normally do this, but if you come out here and do a 3 or 4 hour class with body positioning, we did body positioning on a little flat 4-wheeled thing."
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like,
and they let you jump out of that plane.
So what they did, it was brilliant, Mike. They had one person in front of us as I stood on the door getting ready to jump. They had an instructor behind me and one in front of me on my knee. And as I jumped out, they jumped out with me, and they were holding on to my the waist part of my parachute. Really. And we were all free falling together.
Were you screaming?
No,
I would have. I think I would have screamed a little bit,
bro. It was like jumping out of a cloud. I remember standing at the door thinking, like, dude, we're in a cloud. Like, I can't see shit. Right? But,
you know the ground's like.
But here we go.
It's ways down there.
Yeah, and dude, their training was good. They had a microphone or a radio strapped to your chest connector.
Yeah,
and then at like 6,000 feet, you would check with them, and then 4,000 feet, you would do that, and they would wave off, and then you would pull, and as you were toting, the lady on the ground could walk you into
how you need to land?
A quality landing with a proper flare and all that shit.
So did you land fairly soft?
Oh yeah,
compared to
it was. I remember standing on the ground looking up, thinking every human being should experience that once.
I used to love being first out the door.
Me too. I loved it.
Just to see the ground and be like, I'm jumping out of this plane.
Didn't it look like Band of Brothers where the planes were rotating?
Yeah, you're just kind of moving a little bit. And it was, I initially went on a Halo team, but then got switched to what was mobility at that time. You weren't on a Halo team, though, were you?
No, I was on a dive team.
Oh, that's right. You were on the dive team. I forgot about the dive story. I forgot about that. We'll save that for another time, ladies and gentlemen. So, being up at that height, you're over, these planes are over 30,000 feet. And what they did is they continued to pass each other like they were on a highway.
So is this picture straight up and down the way you saw it? Or,
yeah, they were right above us.
Or were they... So they weren't flying straight up and down. They were flying to the side, but the picture's just not.
Yeah, the picture should be on its side, but really, when I took the picture, so folks can see, I was literally like this.
Yeah.
Like taking it directly above me.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it was literally like, seeing these planes just cross like that, like it seemed out of the norm for me.
Yeah.
They were higher up.
Yes, they were very high. And the elevation, I don't know where they were, but this little breakdown of where international space starts, where the FFA claims oversight, and where state and local rights exist but are limited. And obviously that goes into state and local. You're looking more at drones and maybe those ultralights, people riding around in parachutes with a fan on the back. But I'm pretty sure, just in my own estimation, and I'm speculating on this, those planes were over 30,000, maybe 40 to 60,000 feet, no doubt. And they looked identical. And I've seen those planes before. I've seen those type of planes before where they're this white, no markings, just... You can't identify. There's no numbers on it. There's no letters indicating any type of maybe government aircraft like our fighters. They have markings on them.
No flight number.
Yeah, and
there's one of those at L3, dude, behind L3.
No markings?
0. It's a white. The maintenance guy that had been there for like 28 years, he goes, Nick, he goes, I wouldn't have believed it even after meeting you, but I got called in at 3 a.m. for a water line being broken. And he goes, that plane landed, the back door opened, 6 dudes dressed up in kit like you guys would wear.
Really?
Jumped out and jumped into 4 blacked out SUVs that had wheeled in as the plane had landed. And he goes, and I wouldn't have believed it if you'd have told me that it was real, but he said, I saw it.
Those guys are Green Berets, I bet. Some kind of operators or...
I don't know, maybe...
These guys are real badass.
Maybe Ranger Lerp guys.
Ranger Lerp guys? Or, well, who knows? I mean, this area where we live, not to give too many clues, there's a lot of secret squirrel stuff that goes on around here. And part of me feels like, yeah, it's better we don't know some of this stuff for national security reasons.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with some of that.
Me too. But the big things.
Yeah, the big things where you can observably see in any part of the country. And last week I mentioned being out west, this massive plane. Same thing, white plane, no markings, flying over us, spraying something. That we need to know about.
If you're doing the right thing with it, I'm okay with it. That's kind of where I'm at right now in my whole processing this information that we do.
Well, fog are not staying away from that one right now, but our producer just chimed in over there. She wants us to talk about the fog. We got to stay on chemtrails for a minute because
send it. Sorry.
Well, they are related, but you're going down these rabbit holes and looking into this stuff. So, like what the colonel just said, if you can't directly tell us what it is, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. If you're doing it to us, and it's observable for anybody to just look in the skies, and it's not just it's just not the United States. It's all over. And
it's global, isn't it?
Yeah, it's global. And I played this video last time. You can see the contrails. Contrails, they dissipate, after 1 to 2 minutes. What we're talking about are these trails left by these planes that are lasting for hours. And like I said, they do kind of disperse, and they create kind of a blanket or a layer, or almost like a cobweb, it seems like, around the area that they're dropped on.
Dude, I watched an interview a couple weeks ago, and the guy said they're destroying our food supply with it.
Oh yeah, and we're going to get into that as well, because that has to do what the other thing that I wasn't able to bring up last week that we're going to talk about today are all the bees that are dying. I'm going to show this real quick too. This is from the UK. It's just a guy on the beach.
Shit behind me.
And I mean, it looks like a checkerboard pattern in the sky. You think there's masons up there dropping these chemtrails, making some kind of black and white checkerboard. It's not
right.
Just isolated to Florida. Although, I mean, we were talking not too long ago about like Florida seems to be a hot spot for this.
Yeah,
like we're targeted.
It's a massively politically red, patriotic. How many special ops units are here, to include the Air Force and?
You have guys like us, Green Berets.
Yeah, dude, Tyndall Air Force Base, it's a couple hours down the road. We did a lot of electrical work there when I got out.
All the NATO pilots come here in this area to train.
Yeah,
and I'm sure we've mentioned it before in previous shows, but for foreign internal services or intelligence gathering services, you have DC's number one, and you have Fayetteville, or Fayetteville as we like to call it, North Carolina, because you have Bragg right there.
They had a cool Asian karaoke place.
Oh man, Star Karaoke.
I remember.
Komsomeda. Hey, that's for Star. And number 3 on that list, this area, the Panhandle of Florida.
Yep.
Because of all the sensitive military installations that we have here, and the guys like what we used to do in special forces and Rangers, and then you got divers in Panama City and stuff like that.
You got JTACs.
JTACs and all these cool guys. And so I've been looking for information because I could have sworn I heard the president talk about we're going to start looking into these chemtrails. And the one thing that I was able to find is an article that was done by, wrong slide, here we go. Now this is from, what's the news outlet? AMG News. Now I've never I've never really seen this news publication before, but I keep hearing or seeing and reading this Operation Skywatch that's launched by Trump and RFK Jr. And what they're claiming is that, and I'll just read this real quick, President Trump and RFK Jr. have launched a historic federal task force to dismantle global chemtrail operations armed with full legal power. Operation Skywatch aims to expose the spraying of toxic chemicals, arrest those involved, from pilots to scientists to elite financiers, and prosecute them for environmental terrorism and crimes against humanity. The era of denial is over. This is Nuremberg 2.0, and it's happening now. So those are pretty bold claims. And like I said, I have still yet to see anything from the actual White House detailing this. The one thing I have been able to find is RFK talking about this right around election time when he was already picked to be the Health and Human Services Secretary, and he said
we're going to
this.
declare an emergency like we did in COVID. And it's going to be a chronic disease emergency, and we're going to get the fluoride out of the water. We're going to get the chemicals out of the food. We're going to get the chemtrails out, the chemicals out of the chemtrails, and there's 1,000 ingredients in our food that are banned in Europe. And we're going to get rid of all those chemicals. And I know how to do it, and
So you can clearly hear him saying that, at least I hope you heard him saying, I hope I didn't jack up that audio, that they're going to be looking into what are these things being dumped on us. I've seen a lot of pushback from people, especially on X, saying that, it's contrails, stuff from pilots. And I can't help but think of the wall that had been put up when the Trump administration started looking into USAID and trying to knock on these doors and open them up and say, hey, we need to look at your records, your financial records. And they've been met by a lot of pushback and people telling them, well, we don't have that. You don't have authorization, especially like Elon Musk. He comes up quite a bit because he's spearheading that Doge or whatever it's called.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Yeah, you damn right you can. And if you can dodge a presidential administration from looking into and conducting oversight, which is his mandate, then you could probably hide things in chemtrails and spray them on people. So,
and they've been doing it for a long time, Mike.
Yeah, this isn't
YouTube Operation Popeye.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
Yeah, and we actually showed that in the intro video where
that was in the '60s, brother.
Yeah, Storm
cloud seeding.
Storm Fury was in late '47, I think, when they're dropping particles. Well, what are they dropping? And they're dropping them into hurricanes to try to lessen the strength of a hurricane, I guess is kind of what the theory behind it was. But these things have been going on for decades. And I mean, you can even, you do a search, you can find this stuff, you can find
60 years.
Yeah, but you can also find people being interviewed. And I think I have that video. No, I guess I didn't put that in there. But you can find local news going out, doing interviews with pilots, and I thought I had it in here. I don't have it in here, so we're gonna bypass that. But there are also individual states that have started looking into these chemtrails. And you have right here, you have a list of 31 states looking into clearing the skies and trying to find out what it is that we're getting sprayed with. And now there is contrails out there. There are planes that, are dispersing just water vapor. That does happen. But usually that goes away within a matter of a couple minutes, really. And and that's why I played that other video where you can see this is a good depiction of what contrails are and what chemtrails are. Contrails, they dissipate after a couple minutes. But these chemtrails, like I said, they stay in the sky all day long. And
Granny even saw him with you, didn't she?
yeah. And okay, so if these things weren't, dumping, they weren't had some nefarious intent where they're putting aluminum and strontium and I think barium, is it barium? Barium into the atmosphere, then why are we, we're getting a lot of stories about the bees being affected and entire colonies being killed off, and they're finding these very high amounts of aluminum in their in these dead bees, and no one seems to know exactly what that is. This is something that's happening all around the country, and I probably guessed it's probably happened around the world too. I did find this one news report I thought was pretty interesting from CBS News. This is from March 29th of 2025, so this is just a couple weeks ago. Millions of bees have died this year. It's the worst bee loss in recorded history, one beekeeper says. The U.S. beekeeper industry is in crisis over the shocking and unexplained deaths of hundreds of millions of bees over the last 8 months. It's an unfolding disaster for the industry. Blake Shook, one of the nation's top beekeepers, has found tens of thousands of dead insects at his business. He said that he's never seen losses like this. The data is showing us this is the worst bee loss in recorded history. Shook told CBS Saturday Morning, if this is a multi-year thing, it'll change the way we consume food in the United States, Shook said. If we lose 80% of our bees every year, the industry cannot survive, which means we cannot pollinate at the scale we need that we need to produce food in the United States. So what does that mean?
That means essentially we're destroying your food supply in a really unique way.
Yeah. We're killing off, something is killing off. Maybe it's not us. Maybe it's, I've heard there's actually a guy, I'll play a little video here in a second, talk about pesticides, and a lot of states, especially here in Florida, they spray for mosquitoes. Because we do have some, we got mosquitoes down here that are the size of a wasp.
Yeah.
The good thing is that they're slow. You can hear them coming. They're just so they're you're pretty good at. But if they sting you, you're gonna feel it. And so just looking at this, there's obviously something going on. And when you think of how bees move, and you look at a bee close up, it's got hair all over its back and stuff. It collects not only what it's the pollen that it's picking up from the plant or the flower, but it could theoretically pick up whatever's being dumped on them.
Absolutely.
And if we're finding this stuff in bees, I would probably speculate that we could probably test water supplies. We could look at crops to see if they're also getting inundated or pounded with these metals. And there are ways to test this to see if this isn't just, us blowing smoke. And there are, like I said, and that's why I showed that slide, there are...
Hold on, go back one, Mike.
You'll go back to the...
Just real quick.
There are states that are looking into it. Go ahead, Colonel.
How weighty is the statement, we cannot pollinate at the scale we need to produce food in the United States? That's pretty weighty, dude.
Yeah. And so what does that mean for food prices?
That's a deliberate sabotage of your food supply. In a very, and you know what? Guys like us have to step back and say, well played.
Bravo.
Yeah, well played.
I
can't help it.
I totally,
if I'm reading an intel report and that comes up that they decided to destroy our bee supply to affect our food supply for our nation,
mm-hmm.
I'd be like, well played, sir.
They can't, it's like they know, and, and you know, you pretty good at, but if they sting you, you're gonna feel it. if they completely unmask, toe to toe, they wouldn't stand a chance.
Exactly.
Men would guys would turn into men. It's like that saying, is it good times make for soft men make for hard times make for hard men.
Yeah.
And it's like this wheel that keeps, we go through these cycles. And
I thought you were going to talk about the boy band and how they became boys to men.
Oh, we can go down that rabbit hole too, but that'll have to be offline. As the Colonel knows, I auditioned for Boys to Men years ago. Needless to say, I'm here, and I'm not on tour at every state fair across the country.
In parachute pants.
So like I was saying, these things are observable. We're finally getting a lot of people to come out and really dive into this stuff, because if we lose the bees, we lose humanity. We lose life.
Yeah. It's that big of a part of our ecosystem.
Yes.
And but nobody ever thinks about it. That's why it's brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
Like what a unique area to attack.
It's like what we were talking about, like after a certain pandemic that happened, and
What are you talking about? I forgot about it.
there was something that happened not too long ago where people were wearing diapers on their face.
Where they shut down the entire world economy.
Yeah, they just shut it down. Just shut it down, and it was like the Colonel did when he clapped for, like, wow, these people they are so nefarious that they and so weak and just yellow that they know directly they cannot, they just wouldn't be able to. It'd slap them in the mouth and they'd start crying and fall on the floor. But they'll do things like poison a food source.
Sure.
Or turn off the power, or maybe push, I don't know, things that, like a needle in your arm with some kind of toxin or metal or something. We're just speculating. We're not pointing the finger at anybody or Big Pharma or anything at this current moment, but it's, these are things we need to discuss, and it's unfortunate. I kind of, last week after the episode, it wasn't our best, and it has nothing to do with Mr. White or Mr. Black. It was like I was just unprepared for that, and but I was talking to somebody and kind of telling them my theories on things like chemtrails, and this individual, mind you, had an allergic reaction that he couldn't quite understand, or he did not. It was like, I just think I'm having a bad allergic reaction. And his eye was about to come out of his head because that part of his face was so swollen. And I didn't say anything about that, but then he chimed in with, yeah, these chemtrails, you can't do anything about that. You just gotta, you can't let that stuff bother you.
It'll make your blood pressure go up.
Your blood pressure go up. And mind you, he's on blood pressure medication from what I know. And I'm
with a swollen allergic reactant.
Yeah, don't worry about it. There's nothing nefarious about
it's
that.
Almost like a badge of honor to be like,
ignorant.
Yeah, to be like, I don't worry about that.
And most people,
you can't worry about that stuff, Mike.
Yeah, you can just go to Disney, Which I used to like Disney, and then I found out some stuff about them. So
yeah, we won't go there.
Yeah, we won't go there today, but
you get sidetracked fast.
Oh God! Well, but the thing is that we know, just interacting with people. Now, the Colonel, for those of you that don't know, the Colonel has an unbelievable gift of gab, and he could sell ice to an Eskimo. He really can.
But I don't.
But he doesn't. He doesn't. He doesn't. He will sell other things, but not ice. And interacting with people on a regular basis, I know I see it, so I know you have to see it. The majority of people are like that. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
it's almost a badge of honor. Like I'm too sophisticated.
Yeah.
About about that stuff.
I've got vacation and stuff to go on.
Yeah,
I can't
got to
be worried
take my
about
kids
it.
to Disney or get them a new VR.
I got the big
Virtual-
game.
virtual-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, get them at 11 years old so you can fry their brain.
Yeah, so their eyes are crossed permanently, and they're like, I can't figure out why their eyes are crossed.
Here's my favorite part, was that said individual said this one time. When I took the ASFAB, they pretty much told me I was a genius.
If he was in here right now, I'd be giving him that award right there. No.
Dude, he's probably earned it.
Well, he never spent a moment in the course, but with that kind of knowledge,
I'm a genius.
I don't think there's anywhere I wouldn't follow that guy. We got one more round of applause for that. Okay, we'll stop poking fun at the unnamed individual, and
it doesn't matter. Stories and information come from all different kinds of people. So
and
you just got to deal with it.
So
not everything that's said about you and I is positive. I guarantee.
Oh God,
Oh, your mom's over here laughing like, yeah. She's like, yeah.
Boy, ain't that the truth. But you know what? The thing is that I think, and I'm just going to speak for myself at this moment. I'm not here to move mountains. No one can be a one-man army.
No.
But if you don't at least try, because you don't know, maybe something that you say resonates with somebody that can affect and make real change. And the idea that, that's just the way the world is. Fuck that.
Yeah.
That is a defeatist mentality.
Yeah.
And especially for people that have kids.
Just go see how long you can hold your breath.
Yeah. Yeah, can you think you can hold your breath the rest of your life or
No,
just
I'm saying hold your breath until you die.
You want me to try it right now?
No.
Oh God, I can't. I'll shit my pants. Well, that's a whole nother story, but I really am it worries me, and this is like on a deeper level that when we talk about, we really need to do a show about this, is that the masters of evil, the really nefarious individuals in the background that we don't know that kind of pull the strings. I feel like they're right now doing this. Good monkeys. Keep watching the TV. Keep going to sporting events.
Yeah.
Keep drinking the beer. And it's almost like we're almost there. We almost got them at checkmate. They won't do a fucking thing to save themselves. They'll put on a mask if we tell them. They'll take this jab if we tell them.
Yeah, that was a weird time for me.
Yeah.
I had some very strong, deep, I'm talking childhood, grew up on an 80-acre farm, roaming around the woods and the barn and getting in trouble with my little brothers. Like no supervision, dude, to what that was, and it freaked me out. I cannot believe how we went along with that.
It brought me to tears.
But we did.
Yeah, it brought me to tears.
We need to remember that we did because we're forgetting it already.
We definitely are. And I one of my proudest moments during that whole situation is we went out west, and I was in New Mexico, and I pulled into this gas station, and I have another beanie. It's an American flag beanie, and I have my combat American flag on the side of my beanie.
In case you get lost at night, it's an ISR.
Absolutely. And I already been kicked out of a gas station because they're like, hey, you need to wear your mask. And I was like, I'll just pay at the pump. But I went into this truck stop, and everybody's looking at me. Everybody's got a mask on. And there's a state trooper there, and he's got his back to me, and then he turns and looks at me.
The level of mental programming was, again, well played.
Yeah. But this state trooper looked at me, nodded his head, and turned right back around.
Good for him, dude.
I was all, South Side. South Side. And I kept walking, and these people are like, it was like it was one of the coolest feelings I ever had, because I could feel the other people's energy, and they're like, oh God, I'm such a little bitch.
I can't believe this baby killer's not wearing a diaper on his face.
I almost did that.
I used to say, nice face diaper. Is that in case? Is
face
that in case?
diaper.
Yeah. Is that in case you shit in your mouth?
Yeah, I mean, you're literally breathing in your own shit, so why not, right?
Yeah. Wow.
We got a little off topic, but it's all good. It's for our own therapy, the gentleman here. So with that, I will show this other video, what we were talking about, the bees in that article. But this is pretty interesting. This is it's like 2 minutes long, but this guy breaks it down, I think, A-Team style. So I'm gonna play that real quick.
This is what over $1 million in dead honeybee colonies looks like. And this. Absolutely devastating. In the last 90 days, the United States has seen historic losses of honeybee colonies. Here we see, over the last 8 months, 1.12 million beehives, 68% of all the bees in the United States are dead. And then right below that, the 12-month total estimate is over 80% of all bees lost. Hopefully this works. The ABF and the AHPA teamed up to send a letter to the Secretary of Agriculture, which, wild fact in here, combined losses over the last 12 months, 70 to 100%. That is insane. But anyways, it's written to the Secretary of Agriculture, hopefully to shed light on the fact that this is literally historic losses and to demand some aid and relief and funding to bounce back from this. There's actually been a response to that letter that I just found. The USDA is experiencing government cuts, and so now the University of Cornell is getting involved, and here's one of their first responses. Based on early numbers that are coming in, it's suggestive that this will be the biggest loss of honeybee colonies in U.S. history. Catastrophic losses. So Cornell's hopping in to help with the research side and studies and see what happened. I think we're still leaning towards the side of overexposure to pesticide and neonicotinoid on monoculture pollination, and then maybe overexposure to harsh chemicals with mite treatments. I think the end-all be-all goal is to move towards treatment-free beekeeping, but that has to entirely do with genetics, and we're so far from that's not even a topic of conversation right now, I don't think. But moving towards organic compounds for mite treatments, I think, is a step in the right direction, but lots to work on here.
All right. That's a pretty good breakdown, I think, of just where the bee population is. And like I mean, we're speculating that, possibly these chemtrails have something to do with that. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of other than what he alluded to as far as pesticides and other chemicals that they spray for things like, especially here in Florida, they spray for insects and
encouragement. Look into it and read about it.
Absolutely. There was actually there
we
was
wouldn't be
something
talking
else
about this if we didn't. There wasn't information out there that we've read and learned about it.
And like we showed, there's 31 states that are looking into this right now. The other thing is here in Florida, this is from the Tallahassee Democrat. We have some senators here that are. Let's see if I can get this over here. There we go. Okay, where is it? Legislation to track chemtrail complaints advances in Florida Senate. Now, obviously, the Tallahassee Democrats owned by USA Today, so they're going to get a little skewed opinion here. It's not going to be unbiased.
Go down just a pinch, Mike, if you would, please. And I'll tell you what I saw that I would read to my wife and kids.
All right.
A Florida Senate, and I call this understanding what you're reading and learning about mental programming.
Yeah.
A Florida Senate bill proposes a hotline for reporting chemtrails,
a conspiracy
theory about government-controlled weather modification.
Yeah, it's just a conspiracy theory there, Colonel.
Yeah, I would tell my wife and kids, they are subconsciously teaching you that anybody that thinks that chemtrails are real or that this is happening is a conspiracy theorist. They're stupid. They're stupid. Yeah. But do you see how subtle that is?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean,
and like I said, this newspaper is owned by USA Today, so you're going to get a very slanted point of view in the left, and that's fine. If you know what you're reading, then it's fine, and you should look at both sides.
Yep. That's a great persuasive essay right there.
Yep. So there are some senators here, state senators. Let me actually go back up. The bill that a bill that relates to a decades-old conspiracy theory that the government is spreading.
There you go again.
Chemicals in the air. Decades-old conspiracy theory. In some case,
those weirdos.
Yeah, to control people's minds in making its way through committees. It aims to establish a hotline so Floridians concerned with streaks in the sky can call and report them. Streaks in the sky. I love the way that they make it sound like, well, we're just, we're making stuff up.
That's just normal output for a plane.
Yeah, there's nothing nefarious here. It's just
their mental programming is good.
It's very good.
The conspiracy theorists, they know that repetition is the mother of all learning, and it's subtle. And that's why, I used to print those out to Julie and the kids, and I'd read them at night and be like, "This is how you recognize this."
The subtleness of the persuasion tactics.
It's a master class, dude.
It is. And I mean, we got a little bit of that.
A little bit, but not to the level that they're doing it now.
We got I would say we got like the AA, AAA ball level.
Yeah.
These people are major leaguers.
Agreed.
There's an interesting article I wanted to read real quick, based off of the conspiracy theory, and this is from the June July 1989 issue of the West German Scientist publication of Raum and Zeitgeist, an article by Dr. Van Kraut. I don't know how to say his name. Can human beings be manipulated by ELF waves? The article stated. The technical principle for receiving an electromagnetic wave is fully analogous with biological information and communication systems. It's if several thousand of the hundreds of billions of nerve cells in our brain resonate with man-made centimeter waves, the carrier frequency has to be suppressed when the signal is passed on to the synapses. To overcome cell membrane, living organisms use electrochemical processes involving sodium and potassium ions. This suppresses the carrier frequency in the high-frequency range, just as the demodulation circuit does in man-made receivers.
Well played, sir, with the demodulation.
Thank you. I was like, man, this thing's hard to read because it's a little smudgy.
That was solid.
What remains is the signal impressed on the carrier frequency, e.g. in the flow frequency ELF range. This is also the frequency range at which our own nervous system normally works. Using these frequencies, the nerve fibers convey pain sensations, the feeling of hunger, tiredness, nausea, and signals on the sense of balance to points in the brain which invoke these stages in an awake consciousness. If interference signals are superimposed on the natural signals generated by the body, e.g. by using artificially created symmetry waves as a carrier, the brain could be presented with stimulated states that we consciously perceive, but which do not appear as reality. A state of disturbed sense of balance, which seems to us to be real, is enough to stop people from being able to run or make them feel dizzy, even when they are lying down. I'm going to skip all the way down to the bottom. An entire nation can be gradually subjugated psychically by the means of long-term radiation using ELF modulated centimeter waves, once any kind of desire to defend or capacity to resist has been dispelled. Political activities by negotiation are sufficient to incorporate into one's power a nation subjugated in this way. Why did I read this? This, to me, is important because all these things kind of work together. We really didn't get into the Gwen towers or what's on some of these cell towers, and there's a little list of what is on these cell towers, especially in urban areas. And then how do they function or interact with, say, if you were actually dropping things like aluminum on people and you're able to break that blood-brain barrier, and like that mind control little article or snippet on mind control, you have kind of like you triangulate, I think that's the right word, onto a target. Well, how do you do that? You need 3 points. So you need something you need the person, the individual. You need something like a primer or a metal dropped on them, and then you need something to actually ignite it. So like I'm thinking of kind of like, maybe you could explain a little better.
Almost like a demo charge.
Yeah, like that's what I was thinking, like a demo charge. And like when I showed these pictures, I look at this and I'm like, okay, well they disperse something, and then they need these planes to go over the top. Now this is all speculation and for entertainment purposes, so we don't get sued. To like initiate it or to charge it, and then it drops on top of us, and that's exactly what I was thinking is like a demo charge. Oh, they're here. The visitors are here, but so that's why I read that, because people think of mind control. They're like, oh, that's another one of those conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theory.
It's like, hey, look into MK Ultra a little bit. See what you think about that, and come back and tell me about mind control. And if we don't know, this is why it's so important, if we don't know what it is they're dumping on us, we don't know the effects it'll have on us.
It's like playing football, but you're the only team on the field.
Yeah.
That's what I told Julia. I said, they've been running up and down the field for years now with no opposition.
Mm-hmm.
I go, imagine that.
And one of the big benefits for me when COVID happened is that I started research and stuff. And I am by no means a Rhodes Scholar. I can't remember shit to save my life because I grew up by fucking power lines. And
I thought you sniffed gas too.
Well, it was paint. It wasn't gas, but that's a whole nother story. But these things, nobody, they don't teach you any of this stuff, in school, and you don't really find out about it in life because usually we're too busy trying to hold down a job and take care of a family and pay the bills, and they use that. They fucking use that against us. They know most of us aren't going to look into this shit, and when you bring it up to other people that don't look into it, you get the there's nothing you can do about that, man. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Why is your eye so swollen?
It's nothing. I can't explain it.
Hey, is it true that when you took the ASFAB, they pretty much told you that you were a genius?
Genius. That was the word on the street.
I'm sorry, dude.
No, please. Let's egg on some more. But, well.
I miss the banter.
Oh, I do too, bro. I do too.
I wish he was here to defend himself. It'd be even more funny.
Oh, there's no way in hell.
I can be just as sweet when I'm talking to you as I am him.
I think we both could. We would be
absolutely.
like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But obviously, it would be like, he would be like him, like a baby sea lion going into some killer whales. That's the way he would see it. He would probably have a heart attack in here.
I don't know. People that delusional, that arrogant may think, because I'd almost want to let him think he had a leg up.
Yeah, just to kind of see how far he would take it. Like, yeah. I was so shocked when I heard that come from him because I was just like,
yeah, dude, look at your face.
Yeah, like, I mean, your face. You're telling me allergies. But he's like, I've never had allergies like this before. Maybe,
What just happened? Well, you can't worry about everything.
You can't worry about that.
You'll end up with high blood pressure, my friend.
Hey, your leg's on fire. You can't worry about that. Yeah. It just gets hot sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll stop.
All right, we'll go.
Right. But there is one thing I can play to kind of complete this episode that kind of illustrates and puts in. I used to think it was kind of funny, but now every time I hear him talk, George Carlin.
Oh, it's less funny.
It's less funny each time.
But it's more on point.
Yeah, so we're gonna close the show with that, with a little bit of wisdom from Mr. George Carlin, and we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in today, and I want to thank the Colonel for coming in and sitting shotgun. Thank you, sir. Cheers to you, friend.
It's my great pleasure, my friend.
It's always a blast.
This is the one thing I do besides go to work and go home to my family, which is great. I'm glad to do that. But once every 2 or 3 months, we do this, and
Hell yeah, bro. South Side.
Yeah, we should probably plan it every quarter.
We need to. We really do. And honestly, because we're not sexually involved, so I'll just toot his horn real quick. This man does what he has to do for his family, and I salute you, sir. And that's why you earned that award when we were in the course. So thank you again for coming out here, and we're going to end on a high note with, well, it's actually not a high note. It's kind of, I'll say this real quick. The reason why it's not so funny to me anymore is because when he's doing his show, or when he did his shows, George Carlin, and towards the end, he got very vocal about just the world and how it works and how we're not in the club.
What year was this, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm not sure. But it was towards the end before he died.
The 3.6 people that listen to this will probably know where it came from.
Yeah, they might know. But yeah. And we want to thank all those folks for tuning in.
Yeah.
But oh no, somebody just came in here, Willie Lump Lump. But wait, Abigail, you're not supposed to be in here. You go over there by Grandma. We can't have you on the camera, kiddo. So if you'd like to check us out, you can take a look at us on the socials, the X machine. Oh, that's not it. Sorry, wrong one. Let me switch back to that. At Liberty Ape 76. There it is down there. But what I was saying about Carlin is that he's literally telling us, like, hey, this is how it is, and we ain't in this club, and people are just laughing, and like, that's how the majority of us, the sheep, will look at it. They see something bad happen, and just laugh it off, and there's nothing you can do about that. But
my favorite line came from a man named Paul Washer, and he said, "The tombstone of America will read, they entertain themselves to death."
Mm-hmm. As unfortunate as that sounds, it's very true. It rings very true.
Yep.
So on that note, we're going to go ahead and play a little Carlin to end the show, and hope everybody has a good rest of their weekend, and hopefully this doesn't take forever to upload. But as always, long live liberty, and we'll see you next time.
Be happy with what you got, because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back, so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.